with ExtremeTerrain.com, and today we are checking out these XK Glow RGB Amber fender vent turn signal and running lights fitting all 2018 and newer JL Wranglers. Now, if you are looking for some very unique lighting for your Wrangler that's going to make a statement on your build and will also be very functional, these are going to be a great solution for you. Now, these will be a good choice for the Jeep owner looking for a non-typical lighting solution that's going to add that extra flair of color to match with any accent colors or any themes that you may have incorporated into your build. This is also going to be a great accent piece to other RGB components if you already have RGB headlights or any other lighting on your Jeep and you're looking to add to that style. Now, like I said, these are going to have the daytime running light as well as a turn signal light included in the kit. Now, the border on the outside here, this will be your running light. This is going to be the fun RGB part of this mod with a strip of LEDs that's going to have the ability to change between 16 million different colors, preset themes, DIY themes, and even holiday themes, all with an app that you can download to your Android or Apple device. That's going to make it incredibly easy to switch up the vibe of your Jeep for whatever scenario or mood that you're in or wherever you are, whether your Jeep is in a parade or you're at a Jeep show. Now, on the inner portion, this is going to have a factory plastic style look that's going to match with any other plastic accessories that you already have on the Jeep and factory style trim, but it's also going to have 3 strips of amber LEDs in the middle that's going to act as that switchback turn signal. Now, like I said, that's going to add some function to your setup and make your Jeep much more noticeable, especially on the side when you're out at night. And I do like that it's going to take a different style approach compared to the average LED strip, especially with these jewel or ice cube style lenses on the top. Now, these will feature a full LED design, which will be long lasting with a low energy draw, so you can expect a good lifespan out of these lights. Now, they will again have a plastic housing construction, very similar to the vent that's already there, and is going to match with other plastics on the Jeep. Now, on the back, these will secure with 2 clips as well as 2 alignment studs and a strip of high quality 3M auto grade tape. So you're not gonna have to make any modifications in order to pop these in place, and the adhesive is going to hold very well thanks to its strength even at higher speeds. This will also include all of the wiring in the kit that you need to get these installed properly, including the control box. You do have an on-off switch for the battery, extended wires to make sure you have enough room, and all of the little connectors that you need to install these. Now, I do want to mention there is some wiring that is included. There are a couple leads on the end of the lights themselves, so you will have some minor wiring, but we'll show you how to do that in just a second. Now, this kit is about $250. Now, I do have to say that this is a very unique option and will integrate a lot of custom lighting into a spot on the Jeep that doesn't often see a lot of custom lighting. Now, there are other choices that will swap the vent with other smaller lighting choices, but not many options are going to have that RGB function in addition to having a turn signal. Now, if you know you want both of those options when it comes to your build, this is going to be a great set to look at. Now, install here will need a lighter 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, so I would recommend a little mechanical know-how or wiring know-how in order to get the job done, but if you do have that, it should only take about an hour to do so. Now, at this point, we can head over to our shop and check out a detailed breakdown on how you can get these onto your JL at home, so that's going to wrap it up for my review. Let's go ahead and jump into the install.
The tools you'll need for this project are a ratchet, a 10mm socket, a couple of trim panel removal tools, a pair of pliers, a pair of wire strippers and crimpers, the supplied electrical connectors. You'll also need to source some extra wire, as well as some alcohol pads and some electrical connectors. Hi everyone, today we're installing a set of vent lights on our Wrangler, so let's get started. Now you can see we removed our wheel and tire from the vehicle. It just makes it easier to gain access to the wiring harness that we've got to tap into. Next thing we're going to do is actually remove our inner fender liner to gain access to that wiring harness. I found it's a whole lot easier to do it this way than removing the whole fender to gain that access. So what we're going to do is we've got 3 10mm bolts underneath the fender liner here that we need to take out, and then we've got several push pins that we also need to remove. Once we get those removed, we can just pull the fender liner completely out, and we'll have complete and total access to the wiring harness up above the fender liner here. So let's go ahead and get those bolts out. So the first bolt we've got to remove is right up here in the front. So we'll use our 10mm socket to get that out. Now there's another one right up here towards the top. And then one more back here just before the fender bends down. Now with those bolts out of the way, we can remove our push pins. We've got one in the front here and one over here on this side. And then we've got three of them along the inner fender lip here, and then two more in the back of the fender liner. So we use our trim panel removal tool to pull those clips out. Now these ones along the inner fender liner can be a bit tricky to get at sometimes. But if you have problems actually getting those because they are recessed, what you can do is just go ahead and pull rather firmly but gently at the same time, and those will go ahead and pop right out. Now we've got two more to remove right back here at the bottom of the rear of the fender liner. All right, once we've got those out, now we can go ahead and pull our fender liner out. Now you may come across a situation like in ours where the plastic rivets that go into the fender flare are holding the fender liner in. If that's the case, you don't have to worry about completely removing it then. Just go ahead and fold it out of the way. And then as you can see, we've got access to our wiring harness right here. Now the next thing we're going to do is actually remove the factory vent here so that we can install our new one. So we're going to use a soft plastic trim removal tool to just gently pry this out and pop the clips on it. And go ahead and get it out of the way. Now because these lights are side specific, you want to make sure that you have the correct one for the side of the vehicle that you're working on. Now they are labeled on the back. This one is labeled as vent right, which means it's on the passenger side. So now we can go ahead and feed our harness through the opening in the where the original vent was at, and you're going to want to use this upper hole to feed the wires through because that's going to give us a perfect fit when we go to mount our light. So we'll just feed that through. Feed the second one through. Now for now, we're just gonna let our light hang there for a little bit while we get everything hooked up and test it and make sure that everything works the way it should. And then we'll go ahead and permanently mount our light. Now, as you can see by looking at our wiring harness here, we've already modified this. We've done this a few times on this vehicle before. So we've already got our T-taps installed on the wires that we need. In case you've never used a T-tap before, this is what it looks like all opened up. And the way that this works is you wrap this around your factory harness wire, and then it's got this metal spade in the center here. And when you close this down and clamp it down with a pair of pliers, it pierces the insulation on the wire and makes your connection. Then you can use a spade bit to plug into the opposite side. So the way that works, assuming that this brown wire here is going to be your factory harness wire, what we'll do is wrap the plastic side around the wire like so, close it up so that the metal spade bit is making contact with the insulation, and then using a pair of pliers, go ahead and just squeeze it together, and it will automatically lock once it's in place. Once that's installed, now we can go ahead and attach a spade bit to the end of our vent light wires and go ahead and plug those into our correct harness wires on the vehicle. So since we've already got our T-taps installed, all we've got to do is go ahead and install our spade bits on the end of our light wire. So the way that works, it's good. You're going to have to separate them to give you some working room. All right, and then what we'll do is we'll strip some insulation off the end of the wire, attach our spade bit, and then we can plug it into our harness. So using a pair of wire strippers, we're going to go ahead and take off about 1/4 of an inch or so off the end of the wire. Go ahead and twist it to make sure that it doesn't fray. And then attach our spade bit to the end of the wire. And then using our crimpers, we'll crimp that onto the wire itself. Now, once you've got it attached, give it a little tug, make sure it's nice and secure, and then go ahead and attach a spade bit to the other 3 wires. All right, now you can go ahead and add a spade bit to the blue and the black wire as well. And then you're probably going to want to put a butt connector on the white wire because we're going to have to run this one up to the battery for a power source. So go ahead and put a spade bit on the red, blue, and black wires, and a butt connector with an extension on the other end for the white wire. All right, now in case you've never used a butt connector as well, this is what it looks like. So you slide one end of your wire into one side, go ahead and crimp that down. And then on your extension wire, we've already stripped the end of this. We'll insert that into the other end. And crimp that down as well. All right, now we can worry about getting our wires plugged into our wiring harness, and then we'll run this up through the engine compartment up to the battery area. So the blue wire coming off of our light, this is going to be for our turn signals. So we're going to plug that into the white wire that we put our T-tap into that has the green stripe on it. So we'll plug that in to that T-tap. We'll plug our red wire, which is our running lights, into the yellow wire with the brown stripe on our factory harness. And then our black wire will go to our T-tap connected to our black wire. All right, now that we've got those all connected up, All right, now we're going to go ahead and run our extension white wire up to our battery area. And to do that, what you're going to do, the easiest way is to follow the factory harness that we just tapped into, where that goes through the side of the fender here, and we'll feed that up into the engine compartment, attach a ring terminal to the end of it, and go ahead and hook it up to our battery. All right, so we've got that fed through. We're gonna hook it up to the positive side of our battery. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead, cut our wire to the correct length that we need. As you can see, I've left a little bit of slack in here so that it's not completely tight. And we'll strip off some of the insulation off the end of it, like we did for the others. Twist the wires together, attach our ring terminal, and crimp it into place. Now we can go ahead and attach it to our battery terminal here on the positive side. So we're going to use a 10mm socket to remove this nut here, and then put our ring terminal on top of that. And we'll tighten that back down. Now we can move on to the next step. Now that we've got power to our lights, we can go ahead and run our RGB harness up into the engine compartment as well, and we'll follow the same path as what we use for our power wire for the lights themselves. So we'll just feed this in right up next to the white wire that we just ran. Pull that all the way in. Now we can go ahead and connect this to the controller. Now we'll go ahead and plug this into our controller, and because of the fact we're working on the passenger side, we're going to hook it into the very first one next to the power supply cable for the controller. So we just snap this in like so. Now we can go ahead and connect the power to our controller. So we've got a red and a black wire here. We're just going to connect those to the battery, to the positive and negative terminals as well. So we'll get our 10mm socket out and connect the red wire to our positive terminal and the black one to the negative. We'll go ahead and tighten those down. And now we can plug our controller. Now we can go ahead and plug our switch into the controller. Now you will notice that there are 3 additional wires here. The red, black, and yellow wires. Those are not going to be used with this particular configuration of the product, so you don't need to worry about those. And with that being said, it's time to go ahead and test the lights functionality and make sure that they work. So we'll go ahead and push the power button on our switch and see that the lights actually come on. With that being said, now we can go ahead and mount the light itself and move on to the next step. Now before we actually remove the backing material off of our double-sided tape, we're going to go ahead and clean the area where that tape is going to adhere using an alcohol prep pad. Now you can use a regular alcohol that you can buy at your local pharmacy and a clean cloth to clean this area. So it's going to be right along this edge here so that the tape will be able to stick. Now once you've got that done, you can go ahead and remove the backing material off of the double-sided tape. Now because we're not making this a permanent addition to our vehicle, we're not actually going to remove the backing material. But what you would do is just grab a hold of one corner of the backing material It can be a little tricky sometimes to get it to release. Once you get it to release, go ahead and fully remove it, pull it all the way off, and then very carefully start setting this into place. Now, it will be a tight fit with the fender still on, but if you push down, it will snap into place, and then once you do that, go ahead and push the top of it in, get it secured, and then press firmly along this lower edge here to get the tape to stick. Now, once you've got that done, we can go ahead and reinstall our fender liner and then move to the other side. Now we'll go ahead and reinstall our fender liner. Now we'll start by reinstalling all of our push pins back in their locations. And our last one on the inside corner here. Now we can go ahead and reinstall our 3 10mm bolts. And we'll tighten them all down with our 10mm socket. And now you can repeat this whole process for the other side. Now once you get the other side connected, now we can go ahead and mount our switch. Now, once you've got all your cables run, now you'll also have to run the RGB cable from the driver's side across the back of the engine compartment just to keep it out of the way. And then once you've got it connected to the controller, we'll go ahead and mount our switch. Now you can mount this switch anywhere you like, simply by removing the backing material on the back, cleaning the area where you want to apply it, and then just stick it. Now for us, right now, like I said, we're not going to actually attach this because of the fact that we're not leaving it on the vehicle, but this is a good location where you can put it right now on top of the fuse panel here. Once you've got that done, you're good to go. All right, once you've got everything hooked up, now you can go ahead and go to your favorite app store, download the XK Chrome app. Now you will notice when you go do a search on that there are a lot of XK Glow apps out there, but the only one that will work with this particular light set is the XK Chrome. Once you've got that installed, go ahead and press the open button and it'll bring it up. Now, the next thing you can do is press on the palette button here in the lower left. And of course, it wants to know your location. You can do it to wherever you want. I'm just going to say while using the app. And it wants to find and connect, say allow. Now you're going to pair with controller. So the first thing you need to do now is go ahead and hit the power button on your lights. That way it's powered on, and go ahead and click pair. It asks if you want to pair it, say next. Connect the power and controller, connect the controller to the power and turn it on, next. And it'll do a search looking for the controller. Successfully paired. Disclaimer here, say I understand, and now you have access to the app itself. Now once you've got it paired, then of course you have multiple options for changing the light color. There we go. Just drag and drop the item to get the color that you want. Then there are other options that you have here. If you go to the theme, you can select multiple options for the theme. You can pair it with music on your phone as well. And then options for notifications. So there you have it. Now you can control your lights when you're at your favorite car show. And you also have the option of doing both lights separately. With that being said, your installation is now complete. And that wraps up our review and install of the XK Glow RGB plus amber fender vent, turn signal, and running lights for your 18 and newer Jeep Wrangler JL. Thanks for watching, and remember, for all things Wrangler, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.